Hi guys, this is Hirosaki. This story is all about what if Naruto was given a time travel jutsu. After receiving a time travel jutsu as payment for a mission, the original 4 members of Team 7 each get a chance to go back to one event in their life and change it. Surely, they will use such an awesome power responsibly, right? Don't count on it. Before we start, kindly like and subscribe to this channel and look over the description box for the author of this amazing storyline. Welcome aboard. Chapter 3, Sasuke. Sasuke, of course, was after revenge. Naruto had eventually helped him see that it really wasn't fair to take out his pain and desire for vengeance on everyone who happened to live in Konoha, and that what's more, it would make the Uchiha massacre completely pointless. That didn't mean he didn't still hold 3 people responsible. Koharu, Homura, and Danzo needed to die. The third had also been involved, of course, and had been the one to give the order in the end, but as he had been the most reluctant and had ended up protecting Sasuke throughout the years, Sasuke decided he could let that go. The facts that the third was one of the strongest shinobi in the village and he was but a child, and that the mysterious death of a Hokage would merit intense investigation, had little bearing on his decision. As much as Sasuke wanted to see his parents and various other family members again, he had long since come to realize that as long as the factions following the teachings of the Senju were in control, his clan would always be at odds with the government. With Madara having driven the Kyuubi to attack Konoha, which he certainly couldn't affect, being less than 3 months old at the time, things only got worse. If Itachi couldn't stop the attempted coup, then he certainly couldn't, and it wasn't worth the chance to see his clan again to have to watch Itachi destroy them and abandon him again. So Sasuke had elected to come back at 11. His life after the massacre was really nothing worth repeating, but he wanted to come back a little before he graduated so he would have some time to refamiliarize himself with his past and change anything he didn't like. Not to mention brushing up on his taijutsu and working to get his body accustomed to his more interesting jutsu. As Sasuke put the finishing touches on Danzo's suicide letter, he had realized that Homura and Koharu were too set in their ways and could not lead Konoha into the future, but did not wish to be tried and executed for treason, so he was going to die with them, and deactivated his Sharingan. He reflected that it really shouldn't have been that easy to poison the council and future Rokudaime. Ah well, he was doing Konoha a favor, really, not only by taking out some dangerously old-fashioned and extremely influential leaders, but by letting the village know that its security failed and hopefully inspiring them to correct that. On his way back to his apartment, he bumped into the most annoying person he hadn't succeeded in killing. "Hey Sasuke." Naruto greeted him cheerfully. "What are you doing out this late at night?" "What are you doing?" Sasuke replied. "Midnight ramen run," Naruto explained. "I always forget to go during the day." "I see," Sasuke said. If it were anybody else, that would have come across as completely ridiculously and obviously untrue, but since it was Naruto, that really was one of the most likely explanations. "I'm headed home." Naruto shot him a quizzical look. "You're heading the wrong way for that, aren't you? Unless you want to take the really scenic route." "Don't be ridiculous, my apartment is this way," Sasuke disagreed. And really, how would Naruto know anyway? And why was he being so friendly? Then again, perhaps it was just that he was actually answering the blonde boy when he had really been 11, he would have just grunted, possibly said something belittling, and left. "Not unless Obito kicked you out," Naruto replied. "And I probably would have heard about that." "Who's Obito?" Sasuke asked automatically. Naruto's eyes widened. "Who's Obito dash?" "Sasuke, why do you hate Orochimaru?" "Who said I hate Orochimaru?" Sasuke asked neutrally. "For that matter, who said I've even met him?" A smile spread across Naruto's face. "Sasuke, you're back." "Back?" Sasuke repeated, feeling a little out of his depth. "Yeah, you've finally decided to show up." Kakashi came back 13 years ago and I came back 3, Naruto explained. Sakura still hasn't shown up yet, but Kakashi and I are betting that will happen next year when we make Genin. I see, Sasuke said. So, we're in the same timeline then. Yeah, Kakashi and I were pretty surprised too. Fortunately, after a few weeks my alternate timeline memories started coming in because when I first got back, I was confused as hell. With Kakashi having already been around for a decade, he started changing things left and right. For instance, did you know that when that Kumo ambassador tried to kidnap Hinata, Kakashi was on hand to incapacitate him without killing him so Niji's father wouldn't have to die? Naruto asked. Why? Sasuke wondered. Naruto shrugged. Because he knew it was coming, I guess. Also, I get the feeling he kind of got tired listening to Guy complain about how fatalistic Niji was all the time before I used my therapy jutsu on him, and as most of his change followed Hinata's dad explaining what really happened that day, he figured that incident was the root cause of Niji's complex. So, he did it because Niji's pain was annoying him. Sasuke summarized. Basically, Naruto agreed. But hey, that's why I ended up coming back. Not because of Niji, but because your sulking was really annoying and I didn't realize that you'd be following me here. I did not sulk, Sasuke told him. Naruto snorted. Keep telling yourself that, Sasuke. And there's no such thing as therapy jutsu, Sasuke reminded him. Actually, I think you'll find that there is, Naruto corrected. Apparently Obito is good at that too, and Kakashi passed along my name for it, so over the last 13 years it's become quite well known. Granted, I'm not the originator anymore, but since it's official, I feel vindicated anyway. You would. So, besides that, what's changed? Who's Obito, why am I supposed to hate Orochimaru, and what did you do? Sasuke fired off. Obito is your cousin, Naruto began. Sasuke blinked. I have relatives? But the massacre. Obito originally died 2 years or so before we were born. He was on Kakashi's team and, as such, he was on my father's team, Naruto continued. When he died, he gave his Sharingan to Kakashi. Kakashi kind of obsessed, as you probably noticed, and came back to save him. Since he was on my father's team, your family realized he had quite a bit of loyalty to Konoha and didn't tell him about the coup, and Kakashi was supposed to keep him out of the compound that night. I have relatives, Sasuke repeated, trying to grasp this basic fact. Or a relative. Whatever. As for Orochimaru, well, I told you that I didn't want to deal with you sulking, right? Naruto asked. I came back to the day of the massacre so I could be there for you afterwards or whatever, so you'd hopefully grow up less emo. I ran into Kakashi and he filled me in on what had been going on. Since Obito would probably end up taking you in as you were kind of lacking in family, which he did, I decided I didn't want my trip to be worthless, and so we ended up blaming everything on Orochimaru. Blaming what on Orochimaru? Sasuke asked, confused. Naruto's grin widened. The massacre. You. Sasuke trailed off. You blamed the Uchiha massacre on Orochimaru? How? Why? And what happened to Itachi, then? I used my Warak no Jutsu to turn myself into girl Orochimaru, Naruto began. Seeing Sasuke cringe, he continued, I know, gross, right? Had to be done, though. Trying to explain why I was framing Orochimaru might have led to some awkward questions, and the Sharingan can see through illusions, so I had no other choice. As for the why, well, if it hadn't been for his stupid curse seal, then you wouldn't have been so much moodier and crazier than normal, and if it hadn't been for him killing the third, then your brother wouldn't have come back to protect you and wound up making you catatonic. Not to mention that he was the one who offered you a place outside of Konoha to begin with. The way I see it, if it hadn't been for him you wouldn't have left. It was still my choice, Sasuke felt obligated to point out. Naruto rolled his eyes. You're my best friend and he was a crazy pedophile. Besides, was I supposed to blame you for what happened? I suppose not, Sasuke conceded. As hard to believe as a 13-year-old prodigy wiping out the clan might have been, an 8-year-old above-average academy student would have been far more ridiculous. Not to mention that Itachi would have found a way to take responsibility. And speaking of him, what happened? If people think Orochimaru is responsible, what happened to him? After he killed the clan, I had Kakashi round up a large crowd of witnesses, mostly women. I get the feeling he did something perverted but he still won't tell me what, and they chased him to the Uchiha district where I claimed I had killed them all, attacked your brother, mentioned how much I wanted a Sharingan and that I would be back for either your eyes or Itachi's, and left, Naruto summarized. Since everyone thought Orochimaru was responsible and your brother had heroically managed to fend him off, there was no need for him to leave, so he lives with you, Obito, and Rin. He's still really stoic whenever you don't happen to be in the room and doesn't like talking about the Uchiha or the massacre, but it's not nearly as bad as before. Sasuke stared at Naruto. Don't take this the wrong way, but I think I love you. Naruto laughed. I won't, don't worry, but Kiba might. He couldn't understand why I was so determined to bring you back after you were being such a moron, so he eventually decided I was in love with you. Sasuke twitched. I never liked Kiba. When you two got together, you were 5 times as bad. I'm sorry to hear that, Naruto said, not looking sorry at all. Especially as you're going to be seeing a lot more of him as your brother's dating his sister. What was that? Sasuke asked, sure he'd misheard the other boy. Your brother is dating Kiba's sister, Hana, Naruto said again. Why? Sasuke demanded. Naruto shrugged. Who knows how love works? Obito married his other teammate, Rin, and Kakashi's dating Anko. Anko? Sasuke narrowed his eyes, trying to remember her. Wait, wasn't she that insane proctor for the second stage of the Chunin exams? Yep, Naruto beamed. He didn't want to propose until either you or Sakura got here, and he'll actually get married once the team is back together. Anko kind of scares me, but she's pretty awesome. She can make a weapon out of anything. You two get on quite well. What could we possibly have in common? Sasuke honestly couldn't think of anything. And why we even know each other? Well, she's your guardian's best friend's girlfriend and they double date a lot. Anko was also Orochimaru's apprentice that he gave a cursed seal to and abandoned. You two often have long in-depth conversations about how much you hate him and plot out various revenge scenarios, Naruto offered. And trust me when I say that those greatly disturb everyone else. Sasuke considered that. Well, it's true that I haven't forgiven Orochimaru for not only presuming to take my body but for interrupting my fight with Itachi and driving him to death by exhaustion that much faster, so I suppose I can work with that. Naruto groaned. Of course, you can. Seriously, is it even possible for you to be happy without having someone you need to seek revenge on? I don't know, Sasuke confessed. But why mess with success? Because it's a pain in the ass for the rest of us, Naruto complained. Speaking of, why did you decide to come back? It had something to do with vengeance, right? But of course, Sasuke looked surprised that Naruto even had to ask. Even if reluctantly admitted that maybe the citizens of Konoha deserve peace after the massacre, the council and Danzo do not. You killed them. Naruto was shocked. They were meeting to discuss Konoha policy. I poisoned their tea, then used the Sharingan to fake a suicide note from Danzo, Sasuke explained. For the love of God, Sasuke, do you know how people are going to react to that? You can't just go around killing village elders every time you feel like it. Naruto burst out. I just did, Sasuke pointed out. But no worries, I feel justice has been served by Konoha as far as the massacre goes, so I see no reason to go after any other elders or the Hokage. Madara, however. Good, Naruto said. Because if you went after my dad then I might need to rethink that no revenge thing. Your dad? Sasuke was surprised. Isn't he dead? Kakashi meddled and so the third sealed the Kyuubi, Naruto explained. Kakashi killed the third? Sasuke couldn't believe it. Naruto smiled. That's what I said, too. He claims the Sandaime made his own choices. Speaking of people making their own choices, like it or not, your brother made his as well. Are you sure you're going to be okay facing him again? Because remember, you're not supposed to know that he's the one who killed your clan and neither am I. Only my father, Kakashi, and Jiraiya are supposed to know since you killed the Unholy Alliance. The what? Sasuke blinked. That's Kakashi and my code name for the council and Danzo, Naruto explained. Since they always disagree with Dad and always side with each other. I think I'll be okay, Sasuke decided. Right or wrong, I forgave Itachi after I found out that Konoha had ordered him to do it, so as long as I don't slip up and mention that I know it was him, I should be good. I don't see why we'd talk about the massacre even if I did know, because I still don't feel that they deserved to die, so it would just end up being very awkward. That's probably for the best, Naruto agreed. Madara's really good at framing his explanations so you'll immediately change long-held beliefs over the course of a conversation, huh? It's kind of like my therapy jutsu, but the opposite. Giving people issues jutsu? That's not nearly as catchy. Yeah, Madara was pretty good at that, Sasuke nodded. Crazy as hell though. Seriously, the moon. I know, Naruto said. It's kind of a wonder someone that insane managed to keep it together long enough to convince so many other people to follow him. Well, most of those people were also insane, Sasuke pointed out. True, Naruto conceded. So, do you have any more questions for me or do you want to head back? What's our relationship supposed to be like? Sasuke inquired, honestly curious. He was sure that Naruto had tried to make friends with his younger self, but he was equally certain that little him wouldn't be very receptive. The same as it always was, I guess, Naruto decided. In this timeline, I always knew Kakashi as he was my father's student and nostalgic, and after I got back, I tagged along when he hung out with Obito, and so eventually you were forced to admit we were friends. We probably will never act like normal friends, but then neither do Ino and Sakura, and they manage to be functional. That would depend upon your definition of functional, Sasuke said dryly. So, are you planning on doing anything about the fact that I killed them? Naruto sighed. I do not approve, obviously, especially as this was murder, no other way of looking at it. We'll have to tell Kakashi, obviously, but other than that, well, I suppose I'm just glad you stuck to the agreement we made about not trying to destroy Konoha anymore. Thank you, Sasuke said sincerely. Then a thought struck him, hey, since I won't be getting new memorize for a few more weeks, what's this cousin of mine like, anyway? Well, he's a lot like me, for one, Naruto answered. You know, on the other hand, maybe I should turn myself in. It wouldn't do to let people panic unnecessarily. When the two boys reached the strange house that Naruto swore he lived in, he found Kakashi sitting at the table with his brother and an older Uchiha who he assumed was Obito. Where have you guys been? Obito asked, not even bothering to wonder why Naruto was with Sasuke. Apparently, they really were friends. I was on a midnight ramen run when I ran into Sasuke training, Naruto lied. I made him come with me, but we got held up when he burned his mouth and swore vengeance. I see, Obito said. Apparently, that wasn't a novel occurrence. "Oh, Kakashi?" Naruto asked. Sasuke finally decided to show up. "Did he?" Kakashi raised an eyebrow. "You certainly took your time, didn't you?" "Now you have no excuse not to propose," Naruto informed him. "I'll get around to it," Kakashi insisted. "Hi, Nii-san," Sasuke said, unsure of really what else to say. After all, the last time they had been on anything resembling good terms had been the day before the massacre, but he'd been so strained then. Probably trying to decide whether or not he could actually bring himself to kill his little brother. Itachi smiled at him. "Swearing vengeance again, Sasuke? One of these days that's going to get you in trouble." "Don't I know it," Sasuke muttered. "Still, I'm sure I can handle it. And if not, you'll bail me out, right?" "Always," Itachi promised. "So, what did he do?" Kakashi asked Naruto quietly. "Wiped out the unholy alliance," Naruto replied. Kakashi blinked. "That's all?" "I know, I was surprised too," Naruto confided. "I can't even say that that's a bad thing, given what we know Danzo's capable of and how utterly unhelpful the council always was," Kakashi admitted. "I wonder who Minato will appoint to replace them." "Well, he did say that he was looking for a way to get Baa-chan to come back for more than her biannual hospital inspections," Naruto pointed out. "As for the other one, I don't know. Jiraiya would seem like the obvious choice, but his spy network is kind of personally held together by him, so. Narashikaka would be a good pick," Kakashi mused. "Seeing as how he's probably the smartest person in the village and a tactical genius as well." "So, it looks like Sasuke's revenge-seeking tendencies actually had a positive outcome this time," Naruto said, sounding almost awed. "Yes, but we must never, ever tell him this. Ever. If he's bad as far as that goes now, just imagine how bad it would be if he had encouragement." Chapter 4, Sakura. Sakura wasn't even really sure she wanted to go back in the first place. Sure, there had been some rough spots in her life, notably the period when Sasuke was in Oto, Naruto was traveling with Jiraiya, and Kakashi was AWOL, but for the most part things had worked out in the end. The odds of Sasuke actually coming back after everything were astronomical enough as it was, but combined with Tsunade recovering, Konoha enduring, and Naruto surviving, it was a miracle, plain and simple, and she didn't want to go back to try and fix things and inadvertently screw anything up. Just the same, Kakashi, Naruto, and, to a lesser extent, Sasuke seemed so dead set on the idea that she couldn't help but go along with it. After all three of them were going to disappear from her world, and she'd be damned if she'd be left behind again. Her life before graduating from the academy had only been remarkable in its simplicity. In a group where chakra deformations, demon possessions, seal enslavements, clan pressures, family massacres, and revenge-seeking were the norm, her mundane life with her family and friends made her a bit of an oddity. After all, she'd been willing to throw away her best friend once over a silly little crush on a barely pubescent boy. Thankfully, she'd realized just how stupid that was and, well, she'd need to fix that immediately. If she were going to go back at all, reliving her days of being bullied was really kind of pointless. She wouldn't really have a lot of chakra if she went back before becoming Tsunade's apprentice, and she'd need to do some serious training to get her taijutsu back up to her usual levels, but Sasuke, Naruto, and Kakashi had all moved on by the time she had sought out the Godame, so going back to then would be like not bothering to go back at all. Sakura still didn't understand what exactly had gone down as far as the massacre was concerned, and doubted that anyone would ever really know the true story, as Itachi had died, Danzo and the council claimed ignorance, and Madara was practically a pathological liar. She couldn't do anything there. All of Kakashi's issues seemed to stem from back before she was even born, and he would have no reason to be interested in her even if there was something there. Naruto, Naruto had been neglected his whole life, but he'd managed to cope well enough that waiting until she graduated wouldn't really do any harm. Sakura woke up early the day after the graduation exam, and when she absently ran her fingers through her tangled hair, she was surprised at how long it was. She let a smile cross her face as she remembered Ino telling everyone that Sasuke-kun only liked girls with long hair right after she'd decided to grow hers out. Sakura, like everyone else, had believed her, which was funny looking back on it because as far as she knew, Sasuke's two biggest requirements for a girl he could potentially be interested in were not being useless or a fangirl. Which at the time, among the girls they knew, basically meant Tenten. Of course, Sasuke barely knew her and she was obviously going to end up with Neji, so it's not like that would have worked out even if Sasuke hadn't up and left. Sakura searched around her room until she found a kuno half hidden under her bed. Just like before, she was a kunoichi reborn and wanted to look the part. She went to the bathroom and, holding her hair about the trash can, mimicked her initial change from rather sheltered little girl to determined ninja in training. After evening out the ends a bit, she eyed her reflection. Not bad. She looked a lot more like she remembered now, even if she was younger. Longer hair had always symbolized her fangirl days to her and she was glad to be rid of it. Unfortunately, her wardrobe left much to be desired, as the long dresses she had worn for most of her time as a genin really weren't the most practical for the life of a shinobi. Still, it was only the day of the initial team meeting, and as the survival training would be the day after, she figured it would be fine if she went and bought some shorts after she was dismissed for the day. Sakura's mother stared at her when she went down to the kitchen. "What's for breakfast?" she asked brightly. "I'm starving." "I thought you were on a diet," her dad asked without looking up from his meal. "I was," Sakura admitted, feeling a little embarrassed at her childhood silliness. "But then I realized that I'm going to need energy if I'm going to be a kunoichi, and all the exercise I'm sure to get will more than burn off any unwanted calories." "What happened to your hair, Sakura?" her mother asked as she placed her breakfast in front of her. "I cut it," Sakura said simply. "It seemed kind of obvious." "I can see that." "But, why?" her mother pressed. Sakura shrugged. "Well, today I meet my genin team and start my life as a kunoichi. As such, I might as well at least try and act the part. Having my hair down is just begging someone to try and immobilize me by grabbing it, so I figured I could either cut it or wear my hair in a ponytail and look like I'm copying Ino. And that's just not going to happen." Sakura's father glanced up at her. "It looks nice," he said approvingly. "I'm glad you've decided to take being a ninja more seriously. It's a very dangerous line of work, after all, and we don't want you to get hurt." As Sakura's parents were civilians, they really had no idea just how dangerous it could be, and if Sakura had it her way, they never would. Last time it had taken Pain's total annihilation of Konoha before they had idea of the kinds of things she had routinely gone up against. "Don't worry," she assured them. "I'm sure our instructor will be more than capable. Even if he was lazy. And a pervert." And she never really did understand why he wore a mask all the time. Granted, she was so used to seeing him with it that when she had seen him without it, it had freaked her out, but she'd seen his genin picture and he'd been wearing one then, so when had he started? And why? "I will need to go shopping when I get back to get some shorts and things to wear that won't get in the way." "But you look so cute in that dress," her mother protested. Sakura rolled her eyes. "I'm sure I can look cute in more practical clothing, Mom, but even if I don't, I'm not there to be eye candy. Not this time." Sakura was hurrying towards the academy, deep in thought, when she crashed into someone. "I'm sorry," she said automatically. "Don't worry about it," Itaki assured her with a smile. "It was an accident." "Wait, what?" Itaki." Sakura shrieked. "Yes, do I know you?" he asked, tilting his head quizzically. What, how, why are you here? Sakura demanded, not answering the question. Fortunately, he was not wearing his usual Akatsuki cloak or she probably would have passed out from shock. It was close, though. I am escorting Kakashi to the academy as Anko and Obito are both on a mission and if left to his own devices, Kakashi would probably show up sometime this afternoon, Itaki explained. Sakura managed to tear her eyes from Itaki's. They were black, not cherry non-red, which was another surprise, and saw that not only was Kakashi standing behind Itaki, but Sasuke and Naruto were too. All three members of her future team were looking at her curiously. Anko. My fiancé, Kakashi explained. You're getting married. Okay, now that was almost stranger than Itaki's presence. Right after the Chunin exams, Kakashi confirmed. Hey Sakura-chan, Naruto said suddenly. Do you think Shikamaru is more likely to end up with Temari or Ino? Temari, for sure, Sakura replied automatically. She's in Konoha far too often for it just to be diplomatic and besides, I think Ino's got a thing for Sai. Suddenly, she realized where she was or rather when and stammered out, I mean. Welcome to the party, Kakashi greeted her, looking like he was smiling behind his mask. Sasuke, you owe Naruto and I 500 ryo each. I know, Sasuke grumbled, reaching into his pocket and pulling out the stated sum before shoving it towards the winners of whatever little bet they had going. Damn it, did she have to be so predictable? You're the one who bet against it, Kakashi pointed out. Well, I thought, any day but today, was pretty good odds, Sasuke said defensively. Maybe if you hadn't run off to go be a moron then you'd know Sakura-chan better, Naruto told him. What the hell is going on? Sakura asked, feeling more confused by the second. Don't worry, Itaki assured her, or tried to. Seeing as how he was supposed to be a missing nin, it wasn't very reassuring. Granted, he apparently was never actually evil, but it was still unsettling. They get like that a lot, it's like they're in their own little world. We'll explain it soon enough, Sakura-chan, Naruto promised. Frowning slightly but knowing that she'd get the chance to interrogate them soon enough, Sakura followed them into the building. Iruka was standing in front of the class, trying to get them to quiet down, which was no easy feat considering they were all so excited to have finally passed. Well, kind of passed. Okay, so everyone's here except, oh dear God, what are you doing here Kakashi? He demanded. Kakashi raised his eyebrows. And wait, was that 2 eyes, he had? What happened to his Sharingan? What in the world was going on here? Since when did Sasuke and Naruto act like they were friends and even know Kakashi at all? Had she accidentally entered an alternate dimension? I'm supposed to test a team today. You should probably know that, Iruka, seeing as you were part of the team that assigned me. Assigned you? Iruka snorted. You demanded your team and wouldn't take no for an answer. Let's not quibble over semantics, Kakashi said airily. And I was referring to the fact that you're only 5 minutes late, Iruka said, still looking shocked at this fact. Sakura looked up at the clock. It was true. Wow. Seeing as how Kakashi always used to joke about how the only reason he'd lived as long as he had was because he kept arriving late for death and so it got tired of waiting for him and just left, this really was quite remarkable. I don't know what you're talking about, Kakashi lied. I confiscated his books and threatened to give them to Anko if he didn't show up, Itaki explained. You're a miracle worker, Itaki, Iruka said, shaking his head in amazement. Sakura was also amazed. Why in the world weren't people freaking out or at least slightly surprised to see Itaki here? I have to go, Itaki said, poking his brother in the forehead. Be good and don't fail. Yeah. Sasuke grumbled, rubbing his forehead. Sakura watched teams 1 through 6 get assigned. The Jounin, she noted, appeared to be simply going through the motions. None of the kids were from any ninja clans and she didn't remember ever seeing any of the among the ranks of the Konoha shinobi. Clearly, they weren't expected to be one of the 3 teams that passed. Teams 10 and 8, however, were entirely made up of representatives of strong shinobi clans and the recreating of the Inoshikacho team was a little suspect. Sasuke and Shiri presented the best in the class and the best kunoichi, so that probably wasn't coincidental either. Wow, that was kind of brutal, huh? All those kids wasting years in the academy and they'd never even get a chance to really graduate unless there were a lack of clan kids in a class. Team 7 will be Haruno Sakura, Uchiha Sasuke, and Namikaze Naruto and it will be led by Hatake Kakashi, Iruka announced, causing Sakura to narrow her eyes in confusion once more. Namikaze Naruto? Sure, the truth of Naruto's parentage had eventually come out, but that was years in the future. Why was this common knowledge now? If she ever saw her Kakashi again, she was going to kill him for giving her a faulty jutsu. Sure, she'd ended up in the past, but she'd meant to go back to her past, not in alternate universes. Well, let's begin by introducing yourselves, Kakashi suggested once they'd reached their meeting spot. We all know who we are already, but it wouldn't do to start the team off on the wrong foot this time, now would it? Let's go with likes, dislikes, dreams for the futures, and what you changed when you went back in time. Went back in time. Sakura repeated blankly. Then it clicked. We ended up in the same timeline? And I'm the last to come back? And that's why nothing makes any sense. It's your own fault for choosing not to come back until the last possible moment, Sasuke told her bluntly. If it weren't for the fact you all were apparently changing things every time you turned around, there would have been no need to go back further, Sakura defended herself. Don't worry, Sakura-chan, Naruto grinned at her. In a few weeks, your memories of this timeline will come back in. I don't think things should be that different with you as our changes only really affected you peripherally. Oh, I did make Sasuke declare that he could never be with anyone who would throw away their friends over him, so you and Ino are still speaking, but really that's probably the biggest difference for you personally. You did that. Sakura couldn't help but smile. Thank you. I was wondering how I could fix that. Well, that and the fact that since I already knew everything and Sasuke's just as competitive as I am, we're tied for best in the class and the only reason we managed to avoid graduating early is by failing to show up to take the final exam a few times, Naruto said, almost as an afterthought. That's why Kakashi had to fight so hard to get the 3 of us, without me being the dead last to balance you 2 out, people were saying our team was stacked. Fortunately, he has an in with the Hokage. Since I was the first to come back, I'll go first, Kakashi announced. My name is Hatake Kakashi. I like masks, Jiraiya's books, and being late. I dislike it when someone uses one of the first 2 to against me, especially if it's to make me show up somewhere on time. My dream for the future is to get you 3 to pass the Chunin exams on your first try as that hasn't happened since the Sunin and when I got back 14 years ago, I saved the life of my best friend, Uchiha Obito, so I did not receive his Sharingan. Later on, my other teammate Rin also survived and I let the Sandaime know that Minato-sensei was planning on sacrificing himself to seal the Kyuubi so he decided to sacrifice himself instead. You killed the 3rd? Sakura asked, horrified. Sasuke and Naruto exchanged smirks and held their hands out to Kakashi. Grumbling, the Jounin handed over some money. For the last time, I did not kill the 3rd. He made his own choices and he should be remembered as a hero, not my victim. Well, Kakashi, Naruto began. I can see your point of view, I really can. But seeing as how Sakura, Sasuke, and I all had the exact same reaction, I'd say you're outvoted. You killed the 3rd. Kakashi looked like he wanted to strangle the blonde, but managed to restrain himself. Since you were the second to return, why don't you go next, Naruto? Alright, Naruto said agreeably. My name is Namikaze Naruto. Since my father's still alive in Hokage, I like ramen and having therapy jutsu be considered a legitimate shinobi tool, and I dislike revenge and idiots who chase after it at the expense of everything else. My dream for the future is, of course, to be Hokage and also to be able to help all of my old and future friends. When I came back, I impersonated Orochimaru and claimed credit for the Uchiha massacre in front of a large crowd of witnesses Kakashi had managed to round up, causing Sasuke to become obsessed with revenge on the snake pedophile until he came back. So that's why Taka's here? Sakura asked. And no one's running away panicked. Yep, Naruto confirmed. He and Sasuke live with Obito and his wife Rin, who Kakashi and Minato kept out of the loop as far as the whole massacre thing went. My name is Uchiha Sasuke, Sasuke went next. I like revenge, getting stronger, and tomatoes. I dislike sweet things, fangirls, and people who forget to tell me that Tsunade found a way to reverse the corrosive damage the Mangekyo causes with a relatively simple jutsu you perform within a few seconds of using it, and my dream is to get revenge on everyone I feel has wronged me in any way, including, but not limited to, Orochimaru, Kabuto, and Madara. To be fair, Kakashi said, we were concerned you would use it in front of someone when you're not even supposed to have it yet, and we didn't want you to go off the rails seeking vengeance on insanely powerful shinobi before you'd even graduated. Our first mission outside of Konoha, Naruto's going to have a near-death experience. I don't want to have to hide the Mangekyo now that there's really no downside to using it, Sasuke said flatly. As long as it's heroic, Naruto agreed. Maybe I can sacrifice myself to save you. That would put us both in a good light. No mention of Danzo or the council? Sakura asked, intrigued. Half the reason you wanted to destroy Konoha was because you wanted to kill them. Have you gotten over it? She asked, sounding skeptical. Naruto snorted. Sasuke? Get over something? That's funny. He wasn't finished, you know. Sasuke glared at Naruto. When I got back last year, I poisoned the Danzo and the council and forged a suicide note from Danzo claiming he'd killed the council for the good of the village. Given that the new council, Narashikaku, and Tsunade, aren't evil, and being a council member forced Tsunade to stay in Konoha and figure out how to deal with the Mangekyo Sharingan, I stand by Danzo's statement and you will never convince me otherwise. Danzo's statement. Naruto repeated. You wrote the note. Which might explain why I agree with it, Sasuke noted. I see, Sakura said, trying to assimilate all the information. Her teammates had certainly been busy. She couldn't wait until her memories returned so she could try and make sense of all of this. My name is Haruno Sakura. I like people who believe in and inspire others, and also dislike revenge-obsessed idiots who throw everything away in its pursuit. My dream is to become the best medic Konoha has ever seen and to never be left behind again. Since arriving this morning, I got a haircut and plan on getting a more appropriate wardrobe for tomorrow. That's it? Sasuke asked incredulously. At Sakura's sheepish nod, he snorted. So even though you came back in time for the sole purpose of not being useless, when it came to making changes you still ended up being pretty useless. I've only been back for a few hours, give me a break. Sakura snapped. I saved Obito's life within an hour of being back, Kakashi told her. By the time I was back for as long as you were, I had framed Orochimaru for the Uchiha massacre, Naruto added. By the time I was back for 20 minutes, I had wiped out 3 village elders, Sasuke pointed out. Sakura crossed her arms, annoyed. I really hate you guys sometimes, you know that. The next day when Sakura stepped out of her house to head towards the training fields where the bell test was going to take place, she saw Naruto leaning against a tree. "What are you doing here?" she asked. "I'm not," Naruto replied. "Pardon?" Sakura asked. "I'm not here. I'm at Ichiriku's ramen stand," Naruto explained. "Are you sure?" Sakura asked. "Because it looks like you're here." "I'm a clone," Naruto explained. Or rather, his clone did. "I figured Kakashi wouldn't show up anytime soon, so Sasuke and I decided to stake his house out. Sure enough, he was planning on arriving 6 hours after we were supposed to meet, so we decided to go to Ichiriku's and I figured if we just left you hanging for 6 hours, you'd probably kill us. Especially me." "Damn straight I would," Sakura agreed. "To Ichiriku's it is." 6 hours later, the finally reunited Team 7 made their way back to their training grounds for their final exam. Of course, they knew Kakashi would pass them either way, and Naruto's dad, who was apparently still Hokage, was sure to be pissed if his son was failed by his former student, but it would still be nice to get those dumbbells for once. Especially as Sakura was sure Kakashi had made sure to be completely up to date on Jiraiya's novels so Naruto couldn't threaten to spoil them and have get the bells that way like last time. "You know the drill," Kakashi said, sounding bored. "I have 2 bells, you need to get them before noon or you suck." He reached down to pat the bells attached to his belt only to realize they weren't there. "What the dash? Where are they?" "You mean these bells?" Sakura asked innocently, holding up the 2 bells. "How'd you get those?" Kakashi demanded. "I stole them during brunch," Sakura explained. "The test hadn't started yet, Sakura," Kakashi reminded her. "In the shinobi world playing fair won't get you very far," Sakura countered. "And I did get them before noon. And what's more, I'm going to give them to my teammates as I don't want them to fail." With that, she placed one in Naruto's hand and the other in Sasuke's. Kakashi groaned. "You know, if you had just told us you had them at the restaurant, we wouldn't have had to come all the way out here." "Fine, whatever, pass. I'm sure you're all shocked." "How's that for useless?" Sakura asked triumphantly. That's it for this reading. Hit like and subscribe for a free ticket pass going to the different worlds of anime fanfictions. Looking forward to having you on board again.